Hello, good morning, everyone. You can tell it's the morning because I'm absolutely clueless that the stream had started. So, hello, good morning. Welcome, everyone, to Real Reds Talk, your favourite football fan channel dedicated to Manchester United. And we've had some breaking news this morning regarding the sale of Manchester United. Sources close to Qatar Sport Investments, who asked not to be named, when relaying private conversations, have confirmed that there is interest in Manchester United. This is coming from Adam Craftham in The Athletic. So a very good reporter, a very good scoop for him. Straight off the bat, Shreyas, how do you feel when you hear this news?
Not that delighted. Right now, I'm still, I would say I'm 50-50 after hearing this sort of news. And we've got a similar comment in the chat as well. Not Qatar, man. They do not understand football. This will be PSG 2.0 with player power coming back and Samsung depressing news. Yes, I'm not that delighted with this news coming out, and considering the purchasing power that they have, they actually do have the funds to actually buy a club like Manchester United, and like we mentioned before, they do know how to actually operate a football club. They definitely have done a project with PSG. As if whether it has worked out or not is something that is still up for debate, but uh, personally, I wouldn't be that happy with Qatari investment coming to Manchester United, because I think now that the Glazers are coming out, and now that we are starting a completely fresh chapter, you know we need someone who actually has the vision of having that era coming back, someone who actually understands what this club is all about. And I think with Qatari investment, once again, United won't be the only club that they'll be having. They'll be having PSG. They might have other clubs as well. So I think what we do want at the moment is someone who is actually loyal to the club, someone who can protect the interests of the club as well. And there is no, I would like, between two elite clubs there isn't something going on. I don't want that sort of a situation to come up. So personally, I'm not that happy with this news coming up, but considering the purchasing power they have, you never know, they might be able to get it.
Yeah. For anyone very quickly just joining, good morning to everyone on TikTok, the usual community. I hope you're all doing well. Good morning to YouTube as well. Just a very quick briefing. I know I mentioned it at the start. Qatar interested in bidding for Manchester United. For now, Qatar's a watching brief on United, but it was described as an evolving situation. They expect a consortium to emerge from Saudi Arabia, despite the Saudi Public Investment Fund already owning Newcastle. Now, Shreyas, I'm not expecting you to be a financial expert on this, but how would this even work with the Saudis owning Newcastle? Do you think there'll be loopholes? Would this be a little bit dodgy for English football, considering the third party investments already?
Yeah.
So we're good. We're still flowing. We're still streaming on that. Ask me some questions. Where Philosophy says, where are you reading this? So it's coming from The Athletic. We got Brandon Robinson as well as always liking the live. We got Brandon Robinson as well as always liking the live. Appreciate you very much. Financial side of it, and see how Saudi Arabia can find loopholes. We're not financial experts, but yeah. Going to be interested to see what Shreyas thinks in September. The Glazers won't be asked about putting money into it because the club's being sold. And then the other investors who are doing it can just have the bottom line of, well, we didn't get in until September, so we couldn't really spend money.
We're back.
Maybe that's how they'll spin it. We're back. Are we live? Are we live right now?
Yeah.
Right. So for anyone watching currently on the YouTube, there was an earthquake. Shreyas is alive. He's all right. I'm not sure what kind of Richter we're talking, but we're okay right now. Maybe it was the news that was shattering India that Qatar are ready to bid for Manchester United. We was getting into the financial side of it. The question I asked you, Shreyas, before we got rudely interrupted by the earthquake was, with the Saudis owning Newcastle, do you think there'll be... there's obviously a conflict of interest there, isn't there?
Yeah. I think once again, like you mentioned, the Saudis already own Newcastle United, a club that is actually doing really good and might be, one of the clubs that will be consistently in that top four race, be a consistent club in that top four in the coming years. And considering the sort of club that we are and the kind of, goals that we wish to achieve, of course, there's going to be a conflict in there with Newcastle and us if we happen to have the same owners, or we happen to have the same people who will be pumping funds into our clubs. So personally, I'm not that happy, and I think that there will definitely be a lot of conflicts if this sort of an ownership actually comes around, because I don't know. I think the thing is with the Premier League, I think they might actually, if this actually comes around, they might actually sanction it. I won't really be
Yeah.
surprised, if they wouldn't negate it and they
Well,
approve it, because we've
money,
seen.
money talks, doesn't it? That's the
Exactly,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the way the Premier League works, I won't be surprised if this actually goes through. But personally, I wouldn't want it to happen, because I think once again, I want an independent owner. I want someone who doesn't actually own a club aside from Manchester United, so that there is, our interests are protected, the other clubs' interests are also protected, and the club and the people employed at the club, they have only got one club in Manchester United, and they strive to actually take it back to the heights that it once was at. So yeah, personally, I'm not too keen about
Yeah.
having a Saudi consortium coming in. Then we'll be in a position where Newcastle as well as us will have same people funding the money. Then in the transfer windows, it can get really messy for us. It can get really messy, not just for us, for Newcastle as well. So
Oh yeah, politically, financially, it can get messy.
exactly,
Like
yeah.
it's a whole minefield, and we've discussing the implications maybe of this when the sale's being targeted. We've set, if Qatar wants to buy it, you got Qatar who own PSG, so would they then sell the club? They'd have to sell this club extremely quickly, and then that scenario seems improbable. But the QSI, the Saudi Sports Investment insists it's committed to PSG. So it is
Yeah.
a real minefield at the minute. Qatar Sports Investment has had exploratory internal conversations about United as well with third-party advisors, but for now it insists Khalife
Yeah.
has not met with the Rain or United owners, the Glazer family. So it's not at that stage where it's at a mega advanced stage.
Yeah. Right now it's
But
just
there's no smoke without fire, and it
exactly,
seems like they're coming
exactly.
to the table. Time wise, does this worry you for the transfer window?
Yeah, I think it definitely does, because like we know, the Glazers aren't have never been keen, and now that they're selling the club, they definitely won't be eager to actually make any signings. They won't be willing to actually spend some money before they actually sell the club, because for them, the only thing is that matters is that they want the biggest profit margin that they can possibly get from the club. So considering how they've acted with the club, I don't really see them actually making any moves in this transfer window. And I think by the time this transfer window ends, more and more companies and more people who would be interested, who might be in the running to actually, become the new owners of Manchester United, will actually pop up in the coming weeks, especially by the time the transfer window ends. So once again with the Glazers, once they'll be actually be able to evade any of those sort of criticism and any of those protests in which people are going to go out and say you haven't invested in the club, we are not doing that well, we don't have squad depth, because they have the perfect excuse of saying that we are selling the club, so it doesn't really make sense for us to actually pump any money back into the club. So I think for pretty much, I think if we are lucky, we might be able to pull off something. But think that our transfer window business is pretty much shut now, and I think all the responsibility will go to the person who actually inherits the club now, because whoever does inherit the club, they'll have a massive job at their hands, a very, very massive job at their hands to actually, not just transfers. They've got the club, they've got the training ground, they've got the stadium.
Yeah.
Except that, the wage
A
structure at
couple of
match.
things. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you there, Shane. A couple
yeah,
of things on the stadium and the training ground though is. So I was listening to Simon Jordan last night on Talksport, and a lot of people don't like him. I understand it. He's got this kind of, he's a bit, I understand it. I get why people don't like his personality, but some of the points he made are very good. So for the new owner who's coming in, yes, they're going to have deep pockets in terms of the financial side with the wages and the players that they're going to buy. But in terms of the stadium itself, they're not going to fork out money out of their own pocket for
yeah,
brick and mortar. They're going to basically put it against the club.
yeah,
So how much that extra money that it will generate? So I think United make something like £4 million per match day. So
yeah,
imagine if they was to regenerate the stadium, increase its capacity, increase that to 6 million. The stadium will kind of pay for itself then over a number of years.
yeah,
So that's where that's being looked at. Depending on whether they build an absolutely brand new stadium, it's obviously going to be long, like a lot. It's going to take a lot longer, or they just kind of update it and modernize it in certain areas. So that's something obviously financial that's interesting. But sorry, continue
yeah.
your point.
Once again, 19 people in the live chat right now. So please make sure, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button and like the stream as well. We're on 1042 subscribers right now, so hopefully we reach 1050 by the end of the stream. And yeah, except that I was talking that whoever inherits the club will have a big job at their hands, because they have got a lot of work to do, financially as well, pumping money into the stadium, the transfer window with the players, backing Ten Hag as well. And overall, you never know, we might be seeing a whole complete structure change at Manchester United as well. I think people might be surprised, because you never know with new owners whether they want a certain board to actually be there. We might not even have a board of directors in Manchester United. We might just have a director of football, someone for the scouting, and someone to just be there with the assistant coaches, because with different people who come in, they have a different ideology as to how they want to function things.
Yeah.
And you never know who you're going to get and what kind of ideology Manchester United would be moving forward within the next few years. So
Yeah.
definitely that is a big thing. And except that, so the person who has to come in actually has to normalize the financial structure at Manchester United as well, because the kind of wages we are paying to the players who don't even feature for us like once or twice a year, it's actually really bad. So it's going to be a very hefty job. It's going to be a very tough task to actually maintain this club. So yeah, I think whoever comes in, even though they definitely will be overpaying for it, they must have the financial capacity to actually bear losses for the next 1 to 2 years, because I think it is after 2 years that you can actually see profits actually coming back to Manchester United.
Yeah. It's a long game in it at the
Yeah.
minute. One thing I will say, Shreyas, is if Qatar or Saudi Arabia want something, they usually get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Money speaks power, unfortunately or fortunately for people who want these kind of owners in. So when these people come to the table, not only will Sir Jim Ratcliffe be concerned slightly, maybe other investors, US investment firms, stuff like that will be concerned as well. Now, the issue with this as well is that Qatar own PSG. So if they was to buy United, Spurs or Liverpool, it would actually clash with UEFA's regulations. So that's where you get into this whole wormhole of consortiums, third parties, financial loopholes and all the business. And quite frankly, I don't like we said, we don't want to pretend that we're absolutely, financial advisors. We know exactly what we're talking about. We don't. It's just a case of these consortiums are going to have to box clever, aren't they?
Yeah, and and I think people as well, they're smart enough to actually they know what's going on behind the scenes. If these sort of consortiums are made, everyone knows how UEFA has been working. Everyone knows how the FIFA board has been working in the past few years, and we know that if someone actually has the money, if someone actually has the purchasing power, some loopholes and a little tweaks, and they'll be able to get what they actually want.
Exactly.
So I won't be surprised, and this is the way UEFA has been acting the past few years as well. But except that, I think, to be very honest, I think the Premier League and UEFA must take strict actions against clubs, which they haven't been taking in the past 4 to 5 years. A lot of clubs have been let off with small fines, like clubs like Manchester City that should have been looked into much more. They got and PSG as well. They just got a fine about 20 million and they were let off. I mean, 20 million for these clubs is practically pennies. So, yeah, I think it is going to be very interesting if they are able to pull it off. I think if they want to pull it off, they definitely will be able to pull it off. And like you mentioned, people like Sir Jim Ratcliffe would be actually concerned if these sort of people come to the table, because once again, Manchester United is in a bidding war right now. Whoever bids the highest actually gets the club. The Glazers don't care whether it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe or whether it's Saudi ownership, Qatar ownership, Kuwait ownership. They don't really care. If they're getting 10 billion for Manchester United, they will definitely take it instead of an 8 or 9 billion offer.
Well, one giant concerning cloud that's kind of looming over this whole situation for me is personally, let's say these investment consortiums, whoever it is from the Middle East, let's say they just want to invest 10, 15% for a return, which would then essentially keep the Glazers afloat. That is the worst case scenario we could possibly go into, isn't it, with the Glazers? And you become public enemy number one if you keep them in the business. So that's something definitely to be considered. I hope it doesn't happen. The most likely outcome coming from journalists, credible journalists, is that it's going to be a full scale sale. It's not going to be an investment, because I think anyone with that kind of that kind of bid, that investment is just basically making a rod for their own back. United fans will lose the shit, including ourselves. But yeah, like Adam Crafton says there, the owners would have to cash in on PSG quickly if they was to go about this deal, if they want to make it happen. Selling a club, buying United would take a lot of time. You're probably talking about a year just to do that. I mean, selling the club the size of Manchester United, again, was another thing that was being spoken about. It isn't done overnight. I know there's bids coming to the table and stuff like this. Now, this is going to drag on, especially if they're even considering selling PSG as a club. Having to find a buyer for that and sell it, and then having to buy United and do it that way, it's going to take about a year just to do that. And there might be questions coming out of this as well, Shreyas, like, why would they sell PSG just to get United? Look, it's purely financial. No one can compete with the Premier League or United, can they, on the commercial level?
Exactly, and the kind of revenue that the Premier League brings, the league can't bring that sort of revenue to PSG. There is no way that they can generate that sort of money. I think if we actually qualify for Europa League, we can generate as much money PSG does by qualifying in the Champions League. That's how much revenue the Prem is actually able to bring. And except that we've got Srinidhi in the chat saying Dubai I will consider better than other Middle East owners. And when Manchester City bought the PEL, literally Barclays Bank was saved by Man City owners. Anything related here?
Yeah, well, it's a very good point. There's going to be lots of conspiracies there. There's a couple of questions in the TikTok I just want to thing it. Willy 3 or Willy 8 is saying, hi, are the reports true from a verified source? So this is coming from The Athletic, from Adam Craft from The Athletic. So it's extremely verified sources. You can pretty much take that to the bank. Senior saying, what do you think of Newcastle? They're doing all right. I mean, United fan channel, so I don't really know what to say to that. And do you think we should sign Kane? Kane's staying at Tottenham for another 100 years. I don't know if you watched the show last night, but he'll be there for a while trying to win his trophy. So we're not talking about Harry Kane today. This is purely about the ownership model. And like we said, United's the holy grail of clubs to own in it in terms of like commercial revenue. The global reach of United is absolutely huge. There's going to be a lot of rich people wanting to tie their name to United. It's a jackpot. You know, it's the absolute jackpot. And now we know, Shreyas, it's starting to come more and more to fruition.
Yeah.
Multiple parties now. So Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos, Dubai, Qatar,
it was advertised.
US investors.
Yeah, and it was being said, it was advertised a lot, and there were rumors every single time. The moment the Glazers announced that the club is up for sale, they actually said it in, pretty much. It was clearly evident that they said they want to get Manchester United sold by the end of the first quarter because they can't keep on, managing the club. It is hemorrhaging a lot of money for them, and they don't want to invest back into the club. So if the club is going to be, sold in the first quarter itself, then you might be seeing the ownership the ownership might not change, but we will know who's going to be the next owner in the next few months. I think before the next season starts, we will definitely have new owners, but it's going to be really, really fast. Considering the way it has been working, has been really, really fast as well. So, I think it's going to be something that everyone needs to keep an eye on, and hope that we actually get a smart owner. Hope we get actually someone who has the vision, who has the idea of actually backing Ten Hag, because we've seen when Chelsea had new ownership come in, they didn't want to back the manager, they didn't trust in Tuchel, they ended up sacking him, which I still think wasn't a great decision, and ended up getting a new manager. So as delighted as I am about getting new ownership, I just want the right person to actually come in, because if the wrong person comes in, you can say that they'll be doing a better job than the Glazers, but whether we'll be able to reach the height that we want to is something that will still be up in the in the air. And I think it's every single day.
It's hard for us to know, innit, what's good for United at the minute, because there isn't. I feel like these people that are buying United, it's public that we know their interest, but what isn't public is what they're going to do with the club. That's what, as fans, we want to know. Like, it's all good saying, oh, well, we've got this amount of money, etc., blah, blah, blah. What's your plan with the club? Are you going to build a new stadium? Are you going to like, there should be, I don't know what the word is for it. There should be a list of things that they're saying, like what they're going to do with the club when they eventually buy it. But it's interesting to see what kind of people, what owners people want. Can we put a general poll on YouTube, if possible, if you've got a thing for it now? Can we put a list of Ineos? I can get it up now if you haven't got it up on the thing.
I haven't got it up, actually.
Yeah, that's fine. Right,
yeah.
so what I'll do is I'll put a poll up because I want to know what the general consensus is to buy Qatar, Ineos, or Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Sorry, or a US investment firm. Somehow, I don't think a lot of people are going to be going for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your whilst I'm doing this, Shreyas, what's your personal preference on ownership? Like, I know you touched on it slightly, but just talk to me about your personal opinion, please.
Yeah, I think if things go the way they are going right now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe wouldn't actually be that of a bad idea. I think he's a smart businessman. He can actually, first get us pretty much sorted and, refined in the financial structure of the club. That is one of the biggest things that we have to look into right now. Stabilize the wage structure, stabilize how we proceed in transfer windows, because we've been overpaying for not so good players for I don't know how many years. And yeah, I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a good shout. And I think a lot of people are actually concerned about it because they think that he does not have the buying power that definitely the Saudis and the Qatari investments bring into the Premier League. But I think if you look at it smartly, you don't need 1 billion to spend in a transfer window. You don't need 1 billion euros or 1 billion pounds to actually spend on one player. If you look at it, how have Newcastle proceeded themselves in this window? They haven't overpaid for one player. All the signings that they've made, they're 30, 40, 60 million max. I think Isaac has been their record signing this window, and it was of maximum 60 million. But they made multiple signings, but they never overpaid, and they never went above the price margin for any player. If you look at it in Man City's perspective as well, Haaland came for just 60 million as well. They paid his release clause. Except that the other players that signed as well, barring Jack Grealish, most of them came at a very reasonable price. They got Julian Alvarez for just 15 or 13 million as well. So if Sir Jim Ratcliffe can even, I would say, invest 200 million in a transfer window, I think we can sign a lot of good players. Considering we don't overpay, considering we go in for the right players that actually Ten Hag wants to work with, and that is one of the reasons why I would say the idea of Ineos actually buying Manchester United sounds really, really appealing. Once again, he was a name that was being popped around a lot before any of these Saudi and Dubai and sovereign funds and consortiums came in. It was last season that we heard that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is actually interested in buying Manchester United. I mean, he was about to buy Liverpool, but the moment the news aired that Manchester United is up for sale too, he quickly reverted back to Manchester United. So, yeah, I think definitely Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a very, very decent shout. But once again, if whether he is ready to overpay for a club, whether he is ready to go in for a bidding war with people like the Saudis, the Dubai
I
sovereign
don't
fund.
think he is.
I don't think so. I think the most realistic thing that would be happening would be if there is still a reasonable price, he would still go in for a bidding war. But I think the moment the price goes up to like 7 billion or 8 billion, I think he won't really stay in that bidding war. I don't think he will be looking to overpay by that margin for Manchester United. And once again, money is definitely going to play a big role. So considering the options that we have, then I would actually go in for Dubai. The only reason being, Abu Dhabi already has a club. Like you mentioned, Saudi has already got a club in the Prem. Dubai hasn't got a club yet. And I definitely don't want US investment coming to the club now.
Mm. The thing is with Dubai, right? So with all four, they've all got the kind of their own personal things. US investment, people just tie it straight away to the Glazers.
Yeah,
and that's the one thing they'll just think, and it doesn't sit right straight from the start. Now, obviously, that's not to say they're going to be the exact same type of owners as the Glazers, but if they're an investment, they're purely looking for one thing, looking for a quick return. So the heart isn't within the club. So that's one thing that just sticks out for me straight away that I do not want. So Jim Ratcliffe is a United fan. He's been stood in the Stretford End. He was there when we won in '99. He is a pure United fan. He's from Manchester. So that's something that the fans absolutely resonate with 100% straight away. But then can he compete? Has he got the money to compete with these state ownerships? I don't know.
Exactly.
Again, it's another financial thing that I'm not entirely sure of. I know he's worth £12 billion and his company's worth £60 billion. But if you look at the wealth of the people that own Newcastle now, the Saudi Arabia ownership, it's about 500 billion that they're worth. crazy. So when you're talking about wage structures and when you're talking about, transfer funds for set players, can he compete with that?
Exactly.
Also, is ownership model at Nice at the minute currently, I don't know if anyone's aware of the situation, but I think they finished 5th twice, 9th, and they're currently 10th in the league at the minute.
Yeah.
And they bought the club initially for 90 million, but in terms of the financial revenue, the returns, it hasn't been amazing for Nice.
Yeah.
Who signed some good players. A lot of their kind of principles are similar to United in the sense where you promote youth, you invest into young players. So there's good things here and there with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but a couple of questions. And then Dubai, the Athletic reported the other day, they're not even sure if Dubai's got the resources to buy United, but still they're being heavily linked because Dubai aren't a country that are funded by oil. They lost oil years ago. And they're not like an Abu Dhabi or a Saudi Arabia. So their whole investment thing comes from commercial.
Exactly.
Everyone knows the buy-in it. It's
Yeah.
one of them. Everyone knows what it's about. And having their name tied to Manchester United is something they would definitely want because global led the buy blows up even more. So it's a weird one. But we have put a poll out on the chat. So let us know your preferred owners in whether you want Ineos to take over Dubai, Qatar, or a US investment firm. Please let us know. The other side to consider in this, Shreyas, is the kind of moral compass. How do people feel about the type of owners? We know the human rights record that surrounds these ownership models, like Saudi Arabia. I mean, you only need to look into the prince's history to see what kind of stuff goes on. Qatar, everything surrounding the World Cup, workers' rights, the LGBTQ community. So how would that sit with the fan base, and is that something that concerns you?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, I think it's been talked about a lot. When will we actually be seeing an openly LGBTQIA supporter or player actually feature in the Premier League? So I mean, imagine if we have a Dubai or a Middle East ownership come in. I don't think that if a player even as a supporter, I don't think he would come out and actually support it because like we know, there are certain principles there, and if they do come in, I don't see that happening. And except that, like you said, that every single management, every single person who might be interested in Manchester United, they bring a completely different culture. And
Yeah.
the thing is, the price that they would pay for it after that, even if the club would be up for sale, at least for the next 10 to 15 years, we'll have to, abide by that culture, no matter what happens. So it's going to be a very tricky situation to be in. And like you mentioned, with the kind of purchasing power that these Middle East owners actually bring in, it's going to be very tricky for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to actually be in the running with these people. And except that, I think, like you mentioned during the World Cup as well, the amount of workers that died in those stadiums, how it was covered up a lot really badly as well, and the way it was advertised. I think with a lot of people it didn't sit right. With a lot of players it didn't sit right as well. We saw certain players actually coming out and speaking about it publicly in there as well. A lot of players playing on the pitch actually doing some gestures to actually show their support to the things that happened in that stadium. And yeah, I think the moment this sort of we've already had a lot of drama at this club. Uh,
To say the
mean,
least. Okay,
yeah,
understatement
and
of the year.
now when you never know when this sort of ownership comes in, a whole different Pandora's box open for
Yeah.
us. You never really know what happens, so it's going to be really tricky. It's going to be very like you said, the Glazers don't really care. The person who gives them the biggest paycheck, that's the person who will actually inherit Manchester United. And if it's going to be Middle Eastern owners, I think there are certain things that we need to be actually, be prepared for, because that those things might be coming to the club. And whether we react to it later or whether we react to it now, I think we just need to be smart with it.
There's another thing that you need to question. Like, will there be, like you just said, will there be a divide amongst fans again whilst the issues still remain? It's definitely going to be a topic when they come in. It was a topic when they took over Newcastle, but there was also fans celebrating outside with the full robes that the Saudis wear. So it's hard to see where people are at. Some people, like I said, they just want money invested. That's all they want. They want money invested into the club. They want United back to the top again, winning titles. And as long as that happens, they don't really care. So it is a mixture at the minute. I think regardless, whoever gets whoever the club gets sold to, there's going to be questions.
Yeah.
That's the main point that they were
Yeah.
saying. And again, for people who are joining late or joining midstream, whatever, just to strip it back and put it to you guys in layman's terms, Qatar wants to invest in Manchester United, and they expect a Saudi consortium to step forward in order to fund this investment. And although I have stripped it back, it still feels like a minefield, doesn't it? When you talk about it like that. Yeah, crazy news at the
We've got
minute.
people in the chat self. Brandon saying, I don't think he'll get it massively outbid. I reckon. Strinthi saying, we really cannot be very sure of the success if Ineos buys United. Sam saying success, but at what cost? And Srinidhi saying, let Ambani buy Manchester United then.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's a split on it. Mike Raymond in the TikTok saying, to be fair, Middle East money just seems to let the club crack on, so I'm for it. There's different opinions.
I mean, definitely. I think one thing that we can be certain of is we'll be much more better on the economic front. The manager would definitely be backed. The manager might get the players he actually wants, and financially as well, we might be able to compete for players who the top clubs will be going in for. We might be able to actually, pay people as well as players and their agents might be more interested to come towards Manchester United, and as stance in the transfer windows will actually get much better. But once again, there are two sides of the coin. It might reflect on the pitch as well. Our stadium might be restored. You might see training ground and infrastructural facilities get developed, because we've seen how the Saudi ownership has to actually transform Newcastle. We've seen how they've transformed Manchester City as well in the past few years. So on the footballing front, and as to performances on the pitch and how they function economically, definitely there will be a lot of positives, because they know how to actually function a business model, how to make it more profitable, and stop hemorrhaging money in wages and transfer windows. So yes, there will be a big positive for us in that sector. But like you mentioned, the other areas, human rights and other areas, you never really know as to what happens.
Yeah. Another interesting thing to note as well is, remember that news that broke with the Saudi Arabia sponsorship on the shirt?
Yeah.
Remember that? This is what I mean. But that was a month ago, I think, or maybe even 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So there is, like we keep saying, there's no smoke without fire, and you are seeing people slowly coming to the table now. Maybe it's Jim Ratcliffe is here, and the other ones are slightly here, but people are getting closer and closer. And I think probably by mid-February or the end of February, you'll start. I think that's a deadline for when bids have to be put forward. Yeah. Then the Glazers have to consider the bids, and then they will probably, like you said, they'll just sell to the biggest bidder, won't they?
Exactly. And I mean, if you look at it from the Glazers' perspective, they are having the best time of their life right now. They've got practically, every single person who's interested in buying Manchester United from all over the world. They're setting their bids in. They're trying to get in contact with the Glazers. They don't have, they don't even have the obligation to actually do anything in this transfer window. And whether the fans criticize them, whether the fans have a particular opinion about them, they don't really care anymore. It doesn't even hurt them now that they've come out publicly and said that they're gonna sell the club. And yeah, like you mentioned, by the time March rolls in, they'll have to actually weigh in the bids that have come in, who has got the highest bid. And once again, the person who actually pays the highest price for the club is going to end up buying the club. And like you said, I think one of the things that I would be worried about if Sir Jim Ratcliffe actually manages to buy the club while going through a bidding war would he be interested in investing into the club straight away after having a bidding war? Because first off, he'll have to shell out at least 8 billion or 7 billion with a bidding war going on. And after paying such a high price, would he be willing to actually invest 300 million or 400 million towards the stadium, then another 200 to 250 million towards transfer windows? Then you've got a big hefty chunk of money actually going in for the training ground and the infrastructural facilities at United. So I think that is the area where I would be actually concerned and say that it will be taking a lot of time for him, because I don't think that any smart businessman would not want to, the moment you buy a club for 7 billion, you wouldn't want to invest another 2 billion straight into the club the moment you buy it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where the motives come into it and their intentions. If it's a Middle Eastern or like a state ownership, let's say for example, there's a lot of questions with sports washing, etc. and stuff like that. I've seen with Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia,
Yeah,
and then but with Sir Jim, he loves the club. He's a United fan, so the intentions would be right. I think the perfect combination would probably be Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but then backed by a lot of money. But it
yeah,
depends where that money comes from.
exactly.
If it's a sovereign wealth fund, then I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I'm very conflicted on it in a minute. Me personally, as a United fan, I just want to see what their plan is for the club. There should be a
Yeah,
10-step
yeah,
plan that they have to put forward so United fans can see it. They can all read it online and they'd be like, we're going to do this, 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 this. This is how we're going to fund it. This is our project for the next 2 to 3 years. This is what we're going to do with the stadium. And this is what we're going to do with players, contracts, etc.
yeah,
That's what we need.
yeah,
If we don't get that, then it's like going into the shop. You buy you buy something, it's got no fucking instructions on it, or it's got
exactly,
no ingredients on it, so you don't know what you're eating. It's like
exactly.
I could look at the packaging and the marketing on it, and it could be bright green like Prime. You've seen
Yeah,
Prime energy
yeah,
drinks, right, with
yeah,
Logan
yeah,
Paul and KSI. It could be bright packaging, shiny like that. Yeah, that looks really good, and then you taste it, and it tastes like shit. So you just don't know. We need information, and I can't make a decision on who I want personally as a United fan to take over the club until I see this communication. I think it's pivotal that they do
yeah.
it.
Once again, Srinidhi in the chat saying, I just want someone who supports Eric and build the club to be the best in the world, and give him a free 2 day stay, man. That's all. And once again, 24 people in the live chat right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please make sure to smash that subscribe button and like the stream as well.
Yeah, and we mentioned the UEFA regulations, didn't we, Shreyas, near the start of the show?
Yeah.
That's coming in now for our financials, which means Champions League football is pivotal. Where does that come into it as well? Because whoever's buying the club, it's going to be worth more if it's in the Champions League, isn't it? But then if it's only being announced, if they're placing their formal bids in February, are these people that are buying the club just going to sit there and be like, well, we hope they get Champions League because we're in a good spot at the minute. We're in
We're in a very decent
third
spot.
with Newcastle.
Yeah.
So how if you're buying a club, how do you decide? Just be like, oh well, I hope they get it because that's an extra 50 to 100 million, by the way, if you get in a Champions League.
Yeah, and you never really know as to what that's the biggest thing. As United fans, we actually don't know what actually will benefit the club more. If we manage to get Europa League, whether we get to manage Champions League, as to how it affects the marking of the club in the market. And like you mentioned, and right now we're in a very very decent position. We've got a 6 point gap on Spurs who are in fifth position right now, so we are in a really really decent spot. We are playing good football, even though we all of our players are being overplayed at the moment. They're performing very very decently, considering they don't really get that many rest days. They don't get those that many days to recover. And yeah, I'm just imagining how Ten Hag would actually be able to counter these sort of questions in the press conferences, because just imagine the journalists would definitely be gunning for him, considering all this news that is coming out for United at the moment.
This is another thing I don't want. Another fucking Todd Bowley situation where he's coming in and look, Chelsea signing a lot of players. And people are like, he's signing him. That ain't always the best thing. A lot of these players that they're signing aren't even players that Potter wants or not necessarily Potter's agreed to. So we don't want some crazy ass fucking rich people just coming in and saying buy him, and just completely destroying the club, right?
Exactly. I think that's the worst thing that's happening at Chelsea at the moment. Why did Potter achieve what he did at Brighton? He got freedom to actually get the players he genuinely wanted. And he was develop a really really good project. He was able to develop a team that could actually hurt teams like Man City and Liverpool as well. So and now that he's moved to Chelsea, he's got talented players, but he still has to mold them into his own system. And now that the players that Chelsea are getting, most of them, once again, they are just there to sell the shirts. Like Yao Felix, I don't think Yao Felix fits into the Chelsea system. I don't think that he fits into the team. I think what Chelsea need right now is a CDM another midfielder and a striker. But the biggest problem that's happening at Chelsea right now is they've got their first 11, then they've got new players coming in the next window, then they've already got injured players at the club, and they're still signing players for hefty prices. Modric for 100 million. They were about to
Yeah.
go and sign Enzo Fernandez for about 120 or 150 million by paying his release clause.
What? It wouldn't surprise me if he fucking went and bought Todd Bowley went and bought United just because other people are interested in us. The way he's moving at the minute, mate. Honestly,
Yeah,
like
and
he's just bidding everywhere for everything, isn't it?
and Chelsea are right now not in a position where they are able to offload players. It is actually getting difficult for them to offload players, and by the time the next season kicks in, there's going to be a load of players who are going to be at Chelsea. They've already got Nkunku coming in the next window. They've right now got Yao Felix, Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, Pulisic, Modric, Hakim Ziyech. They've got loads of players right now. So it is going to be a very tense situation for Chelsea by the time the next transfer window rolls in. And I don't want that to happen to Manchester United. We've already been in that situation where we've got so much deadwood, where we've got so many players who we definitely have to offload, who won't be featuring for us on a regular basis and would still be getting hefty paychecks every single week.
Yeah. A couple of comments I want to dive into here. I'm not sure, you might have read one or two of these out, but I'll just double check. Shrindi saying Dubai, I will consider better than other Middle East owners. When Man City bought the Premier League, oh yeah, we've already read them out. Sorry. If Apple or Bezos buy United, it'd be very different, man. They are good business people. Can we get these kind of owners? Like Sam said there, Apple already ruled themselves out. So any tech company like Apple, I don't think they're going to come to the table, if I'm being completely honest.
I think Apple has already ruled themselves out as well before anything.
You're looking at Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Dubai, maybe Qatar with a Saudi Arabia consortium, and then a US investment fund. They're the four kind of main ones that are going in for United at the minute.
To be very honest, please keep your eyes and ears open, because you might be seeing someone completely out of the blue coming in to buy Manchester United. Anything can happen in the next few weeks. So a lot.
I know there's links in Asia, isn't there?
There are a lot of links in Asia at the moment. Not just Middle East, Asia, and a lot of Asian investments. Chinese investments there as well. A lot of people are actually interested in buying Manchester United, but it is being kept private. A lot of conversations right now are being kept private, which which definitely will go public by the time the next 2 to 3 weeks go by. So you might be seeing someone who hasn't really been around. You might have not even heard their names by the time when the sale of the club got announced. So anything can actually happen. We might be thinking that Sir Jim Ratcliffe might buy it. What if Dubai or Saudi or certain ownership buys it? But someone completely out of the blue can just come in at the right moment and buy the club altogether.
Yeah, and this is important. Why United fans voice their opinion. Let us know, please, in the comments section what your preference is, who you would go for, and who you think is going to take over. It's seating up now. We're getting closer and closer. We've got, I don't know, probably another three weeks until we get concrete bids that start to flow in with the Glazers. So getting super interesting. And I completely forgot as well, Eric Ten Hag's press conference is in 15 minutes. So yeah, I just literally had a notification now. I forgot he was doing it. Obviously for the game, Shreyas on Wednesday. I don't believe you on the preview later on. So can we just have a quick insight into that game? How you feel it's going to go? Just your thoughts, basically, overall on that.
I think once again, we're coming up against Nottingham Forest. So we'll be. It has been a team that we've beaten quite, comfortably in the Premier League, and considering the team that we have at the moment, how they're performing, I think there is a good chance that we might be actually able to win this trophy, considering the draw that we've got at the moment. And I think the biggest positive for us right now is that Casemiro will be back. The way I think that if any person was actually able to think that McTominay can do the job instead of Casemiro, it was pretty evident that he can't, because it happened because of the game against Arsenal. The last 30 minutes that happened during the Arsenal game would never have happened if Casemiro was playing for us in that game, and you can see the quality drop there is actually really, really massive. And yeah, I think I'm very proud about how about the way we actually played against Arsenal. I think with the just 2 days of rest, and without Casemiro being in that squad, we were actually able to take Arsenal to the their very limit. I think Rashford right now is on fire. The way he's performing, he's pretty much scoring goals for fun. And I think against Nottingham Forest, with the team that we have at the moment, I do expect a comfortable win. And you never know, this might be the first trophy in Erik ten Hag's reign.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it will be, to be honest. I think we're definitely favourites anyway. If you look at, obviously, Newcastle, very good team. But when we played Newcastle last, we seemed like the better team. Newcastle held their own. Obviously, the best defensive team in the league at the minute. But I think offensively, we've just got that little bit more quality when you look at it in regards to that. And obviously, when the draw gate was coming out, I was looking at it, I was thinking the best possible draw we could get right now would be Nottingham Forest. And to play them at their ground first. And that's literally, I said it to my girlfriend, and as soon as they pulled it out, it was like, Nottingham Forest. I was like, happy days.
It's written in the stars.
Because the second leg's at Old Trafford. So I believe we've got the advantage there. I think we'll get past them. And I think we'll get into the final. And that, 50-50 chance.
I think one of the biggest advantages about the returning leg being in Old Trafford is Erik ten Hag actually, he's pretty much said that he wants to make Old Trafford a fortress. He wants to make it look like a stadium where people are actually scared to come in and play. And we have been winning quite consistently at our home stadium, which wasn't happening last season. And I think the fans are able to feel it as well when we play at the home stadium. And I think the players are able to express it quite well on the pitch as well. And I think right now we've got it. I think we've got what it takes to actually beat Nottingham Forest at least. I think this is the first time that I would say it, but we've got a squad that can compete with one of the the best teams in the Premier League at the moment. We can take any squad to the limits. Even if we get beaten, it would take a lot of fight. It wouldn't be an easy game as to what happened last season. And I think once again Ten Hag deserves massive credit for it. The way he's been able to just transform the club within a period of 6 months. I mean, if you just visualized the game against Arsenal and Man United. Man United had their worst season last season, worst season in history, and Arsenal is a club that has been in a rebuild for the past 2 to 3 years. Ten Hag has just got 6 months in which he has, I don't know how many controversies and how many people he has had to deal with. And the new ownership once again. So I think he deserves massive credit as to what he's accomplished. And I'm really, I think last season, even when me and you used to talk about it, we were actually scared whenever Manchester United used to play another club, because in the back of our minds, we used to know that, any team in the Premier League can actually smack us up if they play good football. Any team can actually smack us up. But now, I think
completely changed on it now.
Exactly. Now, when you go to clubs like Nottingham Forest, Southampton, the clubs in the lower half of the table who like to play a low block, I'm much more confident going into those games, because I know that Ten Hag, he knows how to play in those games. We are really good at breaking teams down who play a low block, and we've got the players for it as well. Right now, I think the games that we have to win 3 points in, we are actually getting 3 points in those games. We are not dropping points or just losing those games. So overall, I think we definitely beat Nottingham Forest today, and we beat them in the home leg as well. And hopefully with a trophy in winning a trophy in a few weeks time, the players feel that sort of momentum, and we go on a really good run in the Europa League as well.
I definitely look. We've got the advantage going into this game. Nottingham Forest is slightly different to how they was when we last played them. They're a bit further up the table, I think like mid-table at the minute. But like I said, we'll have the full coverage on that. We'll have the preview tonight at 7:00. So for people who are currently in the chat right now, make sure you come and join us. We've got 4 lads on tonight. I think there's me, Adam, Chive, and Sam. I believe there's 4 of us on, so make sure you come and join us for that. And for people tuning in late who want to know about what we've been discussing, just very briefly, just to strip it back again for you. Qatar wants to invest in Manchester United, and they expect a Saudi consortium to step forward in order to fund this investment. And things are going on. Like we said, no smoke without fire. Bids coming to the table. Let us know your opinion as always. And Shreyas, if you've got any final thoughts, please do.
Once
Let
again,
us know before we head off.
21 people in the live chat. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Once again, like Nick mentioned, there's going to be another stream tonight. And, with the way things are happening at Manchester United really, really fast, please make sure to stick around. There's going to be loads of streams coming up. There's going to be loads of content coming up on the channel as well. Our TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter are linked in the description. So please make sure to check us out over there. And yeah, just excited for the Nottingham game. And hopefully, this could be the onset of something really, really special.
Yeah, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Let's see. Eric Ten Hag will be live for his press conference in about 7 minutes time. So we'll have quotes out on Instagram from the press conference. Make sure you go follow us over on there. Make sure you follow us on TikTok for people on the YouTube, and follow us on Twitter as well for regular news updates. Thank you for watching. This is Real Reds Talk. We'll see you in the next one for the preview tonight, 7 o'clock, guys. I'm going to buy United. Let's see.